Welcome back, everyone. So this week, DJ was revealed, which is a pretty exciting leader. And I've seen a lot of people just say, well, someone else will figure him out because he's too complicated for me. Or people thinking that DJ works a certain way when he actually really works a different way. In this video, I'm going to break down DJ into his most basic terms, as well as show some practice examples with certain cards and interactions. So coming out of this video, I promise you that you're going to know how and why DJ works the way he does under certain circumstances. Then, my hope is you can take these examples and this knowledge and start building your own really fun DJ decks all by yourself. On screen now are the video chapters. These match the chapters in the video description, so please feel free to jump around the video as you like. I would like to give a quick shout out to my YouTube members Rabbit13, Drew Kirkpatrick, Reviki, and Ganix. Thank you guys for your continued support on the channel. Also, I'm now officially a TCG player partner, so if you would like to buy DJ, please consider using my link in the description below or by using the QR code on the screen now. And if you would like to ask me or my community any questions, please feel free to join my Discord. That QR code will be on screen now and a link will be in the description below. Without further ado, let's get on to the rest of the video. DJ's leader side reads, as an action, exhaust this leader. Choose a friendly unit. If you do, play a unit from your hand. It costs one less. The chosen unit captures it. Then there's this really handy reminder text. When played abilities resolve after the unit is captured. And this reminder text is immensely helpful at understanding exactly the timing of how DJ works. DJ flips on 6 resources as a 4/6 with Saboteur and the text, friendly units that are rescued enter play ready. And for this video, we are only going to worry about DJ's leader side and not his unit side because the leader side is the one that's more confusing. For this next section here, I'm going to go through 4 of the common mechanics that I saw people talking about with DJ when he was revealed. And there was some confusion on all of these mechanics. So if some seem obvious to you, well, they may not have been so obvious to others. And when we get to the example section, I'm sure there's going to be something eye-opening for everybody. The mechanics in question are when played abilities, ambush, bounties, and exploit. Starting off with when played. In general, you would think that when played abilities should be pretty easy to understand since DJ tells us specifically when played abilities go off right on the card. But there are some abilities that are when played abilities but require the unit attached to that ability to be in play for the ability to properly resolve. Cards like Bodhi Rook and Cantina Bouncer work really well with DJ since their abilities don't care about them being in play for them to trigger. Cards that have a when played downside work very well with DJ. Cards like Royal Guard Attaché, for example, which is a 2-cost 2/5 blue unit with the when played ability, deal 2 damage to this unit. Royal Guard Attaché is not in play at the time that ability resolves, so it kinda just fizzles away. But when played abilities like Discerning Veterans, which allows him to capture an enemy non-leader ground unit, do not work at all, since it requires Discerning Veteran to be in play for that ability to resolve. The sequence of events here is that you play Discerning Veteran, and it gets captured by the friendly unit you chose to cheat it out. The when played ability does try to trigger, but the veteran is not in play at the time it's trying to resolve, so it just fizzles out. In general, the rule of thumb here is, if your card benefits from being in the field of play when it's a when played trigger, it does not work the way you want. If your ability either doesn't care or is benefited by your card not being in the field of play, it does work the way you want. Ambush was the next mechanic I saw being misjudged with reference to DJ. Ambush does have the same timing as a when played ability, so say it with me. You play the card gets captured by a friendly unit, then Ambush attempts to trigger, but your unit is no longer in play to actually perform the ambush at that time, and the resolution just fizzles without the ambush triggering. Just to be clear, when a card is rescued, it is also not considered being played. So the ambush will never trigger when used with DJ's ability. So ambush does not work the way you want. Next up is bounties, and this was one I thought that was going to be pretty obvious, but I did see some confusion. Bounties state they are considered controlled by your opponent, So it doesn't matter if you control the unit that is actually doing the capturing of the unit with bounty. If you play a card like Fugitive Wookiee and capture it with your own unit, the effect still triggers for your opponent, not you. So this does not work the way that you want. Lastly, let's talk about Exploit. Think like Geonosis Patrol Fighter, which reads Exploit 2. When played, you may return a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less to its owner's hand. Let's set up a fun example here. It's turn 1 and you play Porg for free. Then on your next action, you use DJ's ability targeting that Porg. Then, when you go to play Geonosis Patrol Fighter using DJ's ability to make it cost 4 resources, it can still exploit that Porg that was targeted by DJ's ability, reducing its cost even further to only 2 resources. Now, that Porg that is defeated is attempting to capture the Geonosis Patrol Fighter, but they can't because they are no longer in play. And now, you can bounce your opponent's turn 1 play back to their hand, and you're left with a 3/2 space unit. So, long story short, Exploit does work the way that you want with DJ. Now that you have the proper tools to be able to evaluate whether something should or should not work with DJ, I've set up some obvious and some not so obvious examples that I want to use as sort of a test your knowledge. So what I'm going to do is set up the example, maybe explain what's going on a little bit, and then I'm going to give you a brief period of time to come up with a solution on whether it works or doesn't work or what happens using DJ's ability. So feel free to pause the video if you have to. The first example is, let's say that it's turn 1 and you play a Crafty Smuggler as your opening action. Then as your second action, you use DJ's ability to play Stolen Landspeeder. My question is, what happens? Well, breaking it down, Stolen Landspeeder would be free, and it hits the battlefield and gets captured, then its bounty gets triggered. But it's neither in the discard pile, and your opponent doesn't own the card, so its bounty just fizzles. Then, its when played attempts to trigger, but it's not on the field at the time that it's trying to be triggered. So, it safely just gets captured by your own Crafty Smuggler. And when Crafty Smuggler leaves play, you will have a free 3/2 Landspeeder on your side of the field. Next up, you have a Bodhi Rook in play, and as your first action, you use DJ's ability on IG-11. What happens? Well, this was an easy one. IG-11 specifically states that it cannot be captured, but instead gets defeated and deals 3 damage to each enemy ground unit, meaning that Bodhi Rook is still alive, but any ground unit that your opponent had with 3 or less HP is defeated, and IG-11 itself is defeated. This next situation is probably not one that you're actually going to see in competitive play at all, but I wanted to put it in here in case we ever get more cards that behave like this. But L337 from Shadows of the Galaxy kind of has a unique interaction. L337 says, when played, you may rescue a captured card. If you don't, give a shield token to this unit. So if you have Crafty Smuggler in play, and you use DJ's ability on L337, what happens? L337 hits the battlefield, and the when played triggers, but does not resolve until L337 is captured. Well, now L3 says rescue a captured unit, and she herself, at this time, is now captured, meaning she can in fact rescue herself, but she won't have a shield token. She'll just be a 2/2. This doesn't seem good, but just in case we get another card that behaves exactly like this, where it's a card that can rescue something when played, it would be able to work properly with DJ. This next one was widely talked about post-reveal, so you may already know how it works, but I felt this video would not be complete without it. Lando Calrissian from Secrets of Power, who has the when played ability, you may choose an enemy unit and another friendly unit. If you do, heal 6 damage from your base, and the enemy unit captures the friendly unit. So the situation is this. If you have, let's say, a Cantina Bouncer on the field,
and your opponent has a third sister on the field. And you use DJ's ability to play Lando Calrissian, targeting that Cantina Bouncer that you have in play. Does Lando's when played ability work the way that you want if you decide to target your same Cantina Bouncer with Lando's ability? The answer is Lando does work the way that you want, because Lando gets captured by the friendly Cantina Bouncer, and then his when played ability triggers, sending the Cantina Bouncer that is currently capturing Lando to be captured by your opponent's third sister. Now, the Cantina Bouncer is no longer in play, rescuing Lando, and he comes back to your side of the field, essentially like nothing ever happened because he enters play exhausted. Except you did kind of lose your Cantina Bouncer because it's now safely under your opponent's third sister. But this is a neat, interesting way to play Lando Calrissian for 6 resources to heal your base 6, which could be something that we actually see in competitive play. This is another easy one, but it's kind of interesting. You have a Mining Guild TIE Fighter in play on turn 1, and when you use DJ's ability to play a pirated starfighter targeting that Mining Guild TIE Fighter, what happens? The pirated starfighter does get captured by the Mining Guild TIE Fighter, no surprise there. However, the when played of the pirated starfighter now triggers, and it can target the Mining Guild TIE Fighter, returning it back to your hand and rescuing the pirated starfighter. Actually, this kind of gives us, for the first time, letting us play a pirated starfighter on turn 1 for only 2 resources. The last 2 scenarios I have for you both have to do with the card Clone, which says you may have this enter play as a copy of a non-leader, non-vehicle unit in play, except it gains the clone trait and is no longer unique. Let's say once again that you have a Cantina Bouncer in play, and your opponent has a Cad Bane Hostage Taker in play. You only have 6 resources available to you, and you play Clone using DJ's ability. Which is the better option to clone? The Cantina Bouncer or the Cad Bane Hostage Taker? Well, what I would do here is play Clone targeting my own Cantina Bouncer to bounce the Cad Bane Hostage Taker back to your opponent's hand. Why? Well, because Cad Bane Hostage Taker captures the units himself. So if you decide to copy him with Clone, that does not work the way that you want, because by the time that the when played ability attempts to resolve, well, the cloned Cad Bane is no longer in play, so it can't actually capture anything. Whereas the Cantina Bouncer actually does get to bounce the Cad Bane Hostage Taker back to your opponent's hand. Now, let's say after you bounce the Cad Bane to your opponent, he decides to replay him. Can you tell me what happens next and what you can do? Clone is uniquely not a when played ability, meaning that it re-enters the battlefield as Clone. And since Clone says when it enters the battlefield, not when it's played, it can target a card. So now, the only card in play at this current moment is Cad Bane Hostage Taker, and Clone can now target it.
Note that this does not mean that clone is when played. You still don't get the when played trigger of Cad Bane Hostage Taker that you're cloning, but you do get the stats, which is kind of important here.
Lastly, let's go back to the point in the last situation where you played Clone on Cantina Bouncer to bounce the Cad Bane Hostage Taker back to your opponent's hand. What if, instead of them replaying the Cad Bane Hostage Taker, they play Waylay? What happens? Well, your Cantina Bouncer goes back to your own hand, and Clone is rescued as a version of Clone, which is just a 0/0 card. And with no valid clone targets on the field, it actually just gets defeated and goes to the discard pile.
And that was a quick and easy explanation of how DJ works with a few examples. I hope at least one of the example problems helped you understand DJ a little further. If you can think of any other interactions I missed, post them in the comments below and I will attempt to answer them the best of my abilities. If I don't know the answers, I will go to the Judge Discord and ask. I also am attempting something really interesting at the release of Secrets of Power. For the first 3 weeks of the set, I'm going to be posting a new in-depth deck tech for each of the new leaders similar to my Thrawn Red deck tech, plus a few of the leaders that I think are going to get better with the new set. Now, it's a pretty big undertaking for me to handle all by myself. So what I've done is I set up a preview section in my Discord where I'm asking members of my community to help me playtest and build good, competent decks that are worthy of a video for the new leaders. That way, come release, I can start posting good quality deck techs every single day for the first 3 weeks. If you would like to be a part of that, or just get first looks at the decks me and my community are brewing, please consider joining my Discord. I will post the QR code back on the screen again, and the link will be in the description below. You do get complete full access to my Discord completely for free, so there's nothing that you need to pay for. If you would like to support me financially, however, you can do that by using my TCG Player link when buying singles or sealed product from TCG Player. And if you would like to support me via YouTube membership, I will put on screen a third link to the join button, but please don't feel pressured at all to support me financially if you don't have to or don't want to. With that, that's all I have for you today. Have a wonderful day, and see ya.